Anxiety often feels like a storm, doesn't it? Restless thoughts, pounding heart, the endless what ifs are circling like waves that refuse to quiet. And yet, beneath every storm, there is always stillness, the ocean floor, unmoved, steady, waiting. What if I told you that within you lives that same stillness? That the chaos in your mind is not the whole truth, but only the surface? Life has a way of reminding us that challenge and silence are not interruptions to our existence. They are movements in the grand symphony of becoming. Anxiety, too, carries a message, not of weakness, but of awakening, because what you fear most often points to where your strength is waiting to be revealed. Tonight, I invite you to see yourself not as broken, not as battling against life, but as an essential part of a vast design, where even your storms belong. For even in the chaos, the universe is teaching you how to find your calm. Anxiety has this way of sneaking in when you least expect it, doesn't it? It's like your heart races before you've even figured out why. Your palms sweat, and in that moment, you feel like something is wrong with you. As if you're broken, as if you're weaker than everyone else who seems to be gliding through life so effortlessly. But here's the truth most people don't hear often enough. Anxiety isn't proof that you're broken. It's proof that you're alive. It's the storm on the surface of the ocean, loud, restless, impossible to ignore. And yet, beneath those crashing waves, the ocean floor is steady, unmoved, and deeply calm. You carry that same depth inside of you. You may not always feel it, but it's there. The stillness beneath the storm has always been there. We live in a culture that glorifies control, don't we? Control your schedule, control your emotions, control your outcomes. And when anxiety shows up, it feels like you've lost control. But what if anxiety isn't the enemy? What if it's not about controlling it, but understanding it? Anxiety is the brain's way of protecting you. It's your survival wiring on overdrive. It's the echo of something ancient, built to keep you safe, firing in a world that has changed far faster than your nervous system could adapt. Think about that for a second. Your ancestors needed anxiety to survive. If they weren't hyper-aware of danger, if they didn't hear the crack of a twig in the forest and prepare for a predator, they wouldn't have made it. Anxiety is in your DNA because vigilance kept your lineage alive. So when your brain floods you with anxious energy, it's not trying to punish you. It's trying to protect you. The problem is, today's predators aren't hiding in the woods. They're in your email inbox, your calendar, your relationships, your self-judgment. The brain doesn't always know the difference between a life-threatening danger and a difficult conversation, so it sends the same alarm signals. Here's where most people get it wrong. They think anxiety means weakness. They think anxiety means something is wrong with them. But I want you to hear this clearly. Anxiety is not weakness. Anxiety is energy. It's your body saying, pay attention. It's a signal, not a life sentence. Now, when you start to look at anxiety as a signal instead of an identity, everything shifts. Imagine you're driving and a red warning light comes on in your car. Would you say, oh well, the car is broken forever, I should throw it away? No. You'd say something's asking for my attention, something needs to be addressed. Anxiety is that dashboard light. It's your system trying to get your awareness back to say, hey, slow down, check in, something inside needs care. But here's the beauty, you are not the storm. You are not the warning light. You are not the waves crashing at the surface. You are the depth underneath. That part of you that cannot be shaken, no matter how wild the winds get. And this is where the journey begins. Because once you stop fighting anxiety as if it's the enemy, and instead recognize it as part of your design, you reclaim your power. You shift from a why is this happening to me to what is this here to teach me? That simple reframe, the one that lets you see anxiety as movement in life's grand symphony rather than an interruption, becomes the doorway to strength. So the next time the storm rises, don't panic at the waves. Take a breath. Remember that the ocean floor is still there, holding steady. Remember that anxiety doesn't define you. It simply visits you, and like every storm, it passes. Because here's the truth worth carrying with you. You are deeper than your fear, steadier than your storms, and stronger than your anxious mind will ever admit. So if anxiety is not weakness, but energy, if it's not a flaw but a signal, then why does it feel so heavy? Why does it trap us in a cycle where our own mind becomes the cage we're locked inside? To answer that, we have to go deeper into the way your brain is wired. And here's the surprising truth. Your brain's number one job is not to make you happy. It's not to make you successful. It's not even to make you confident. Its job is to keep you alive. Survival, that's the prime directive. And so the brain has evolved to scan for danger before it ever scans for beauty. Think about that. Before it notices the kindness in someone's eyes, it notices the potential threat in their tone. Before it sees the opportunity in front of you, it runs through all the ways you might fail. Before it allows you to rest, it rehearses every possible what-if just in case danger is around the corner. This is called the negativity bias. It's why your anxious thoughts sound so loud. Your brain believes that being prepared for the worst will protect you. It believes that if it can imagine every possible outcome, you'll be safe. And so it loops, doesn't it? Thought after thought, scenario after scenario, like a movie reel that doesn't stop playing. Here's the catch. Your brain doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. When you imagine the worst, your body reacts as if it's happening. Your heart races, your muscles tighten, stress hormones flood your bloodstream. The brain says, danger, and the body obeys. That's why anxiety feels so consuming, because the system designed to keep you alive is treating your thoughts as life or death situations. But let's pause for a second and see the poetry in this. Your brain loves you so much it's willing to overreact. It's willing to light up alarm bells for things that aren't even threats. It does this because it's ancient wiring trying to navigate a modern world. Imagine an operating system built thousands of years ago, trying to run on today's technology. That's your nervous system. Brilliant, powerful, necessary, but also outdated in its constant vigilance. This is why anxiety feels like quicksand, because the very system designed to protect you doesn't know when to turn off. You can't simply think your way out of it. You can't bully your brain into silence. You have to work with it, understand it, respect it and guide it toward calm. And here's something worth remembering. Your anxious brain is not against you. It's for you. It's trying in its own messy, exhausting way to shield you from pain. But here's the shift. You don't have to let that primitive survival system run the show. You can notice it, thank it, and then guide it. I want you to imagine a guard dog. Loyal, fierce, always on the lookout. If the mailman walks by, it barks like there's a burglar. If a shadow moves, it growls like danger is near. Now, is the dog bad? No, it's doing its job, protecting the house. But would you hand over the keys to the entire home? Would you let the dog decide who comes in, who leaves, where you go, and when you move? Of course not. You love the dog, but you don't let it run your life. Your anxious brain is that guard dog. It's loyal, it's loud, and it's trying to help. But it doesn't always know the difference between a real threat and a harmless shadow. The work isn't to kill the dog or silence it. The work is to train it, to pat it on the head and say, I hear you, thank you. But I'm in charge now. And when you start to see your brain this way, anxiety loses some of its power. Because instead of drowning in the flood of thoughts, you can step back and say, oh, that's just my survival wiring doing its thing. And that shift, from being in the storm to observing it, creates space, and in that space, your strength grows. Let me leave you with this. Your brain was built to keep you alive, but your soul was built to help you truly live. Anxiety may shout, but you have a deeper wisdom that whispers beneath it. And when you learn to listen to that whisper, you'll realize the guard dog is not the master. You are, because anxiety is loud, but your strength, your real strength, has always been deeper, steadier, and infinitely more powerful. So now that we understand anxiety isn't weakness but wiring, the question becomes, how do we break free from its grip? How do we interrupt the spiral when it feels like the mind has already run 10 steps ahead, dragging the body with it? This is where the brain hack comes in, and it's deceptively simple. So simple, in fact, that most people overlook it. But once you practice it, you'll realize it's the fastest way to interrupt the storm and guide yourself back to solid ground. The hack is this: name what is happening and then shift your body before your brain can pull you deeper. It sounds small, but it's powerful. Because here's what happens in the spiral. An anxious thought appears, your body reacts, and your brain interprets the body's reaction as proof the thought was true. That creates a feedback loop. Thought, body, fear, art, body, fear. And the cycle grows louder until you feel trapped. The hack is to break the loop. And the first step is awareness. When the spiral begins, instead of fusing with it, you pause and name it. This is anxiety. That's it. Not, this is me failing. This is me falling apart. This is me being weak. No, just, this is anxiety. Why does this matter? Because naming what's happening shifts the experience from identity to observation. You're no longer inside the storm. You're watching the storm. That small act of recognition reactivates the part of the brain that makes choices instead of leaving you hostage to survival wiring. But naming alone isn't enough. The body is already involved, the heart is racing, the palms are sweating, the adrenaline is moving. And if you don't redirect that energy, the brain will keep interpreting it as danger. So here's the second step. You move, you change your state, stand up. Walk across the room. Shake your hands, inhale deeply, then exhale with force. Stretch. Do something physical that tells your nervous system, we are not frozen, we are safe. This interrupts the feedback loop. Suddenly, the body sends a new signal to the brain. One of agency, one of safety, one of choice. And the brain, always listening, begins to quiet. It's like this. Imagine you're caught in a song that won't stop playing in your head. The more you try to push it away, the louder it seems. But if you put on a different song, the loop breaks. Naming the anxiety and shifting your body is like switching the track. It gives your mind something else to follow. Now, let me be clear. This doesn't mean you'll never feel anxious again. Life will always have challenges, unknowns, uncertainties. But with this hack, you're no longer powerless inside the spiral. You're the conductor, not just the instrument. You're saying to your brain, I hear you. I see what you're trying to do, but I choose this instead. The beauty of this is that it's immediate. You don't need years of training. You don't need perfect condition. You can do it in a crowded meeting, in your car before an interview, in the middle of the night when your thoughts won't let you sleep. You notice, you name, you move. That's the hack. And the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. And here's the deeper truth. Every time you interrupt the loop, you're not just calming anxiety. You're building strength. You're training your brain to trust you, instead of only trusting its primitive alarms. You're proving, moment by moment, that you are bigger than your fear. So the next time the spiral begins, remember this. The storm is not permanent. The wave is not the ocean. Name it, move through it, and feel the power of reminding your brain that it is not the master. You are, because in the space between fear and choice, you will always find your strength. So now you know the hack. You name it, you move, you break the loop. But what happens next? What do you do with all that energy that anxiety stirs up inside you? Because here's the thing. Once you interrupt the spiral, you're left with raw energy still running through your system. And this is where most people stop. They calm themselves just enough to feel stable, but they don't realize something extraordinary. Anxiety doesn't just take, it gives. Yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it rattles your body and floods your mind. But underneath the panic, anxiety is energy, pure fuel. The very thing you've been running from is also the thing you can harness. Once you break the loop, that restless energy is no longer a threat. It becomes momentum. Think about it. The racing heartbeat that feels terrifying in the middle of anxiety. That's the same heartbeat that pushes you through a workout. The surge of adrenaline that makes your hands sweat. That's the same surge athletes feel before stepping onto the field. The heightened awareness that makes you obsess over iffy. That's the same heightened awareness artists, leaders, and innovators tap into when they step into the unknown. The energy doesn't change. What changes is the meaning you give it. And this is where strength is built. Instead of labeling that rush as fear, you can reframe it as readiness. Instead of saying, something is wrong, you say, something is beginning. Instead of shrinking, you lean in. Anxiety is your body's way of saying, pay attention, something matters here. And when you hear it through that lens, it stops being a burden, it becomes a signal. There's a story about stage performers that illustrates this perfectly. Many of the world's most famous speakers, actors and musicians admit they feel intense anxiety before going on stage. The pounding heart, the shaky hands, the tunnel vision, it's all there, but they don't call it anxiety. They call it excitement. They take the same physiological response and attach a different label to it. And because of that, the energy propels them instead of paralyzing them. That's the alchemy of anxiety. Once you interrupt the spiral, you get to choose how to use the energy it left behind. Will it be a cage, or will it be fuel? The truth is, every moment of anxiety is also a moment of awakening. It's your body's way of saying, here's the edge of your comfort zone. And here's the paradox. Every time you feel that edge, it means you are on the threshold of growth. Anxiety and expansion walk hand in hand. You cannot have one without touching the other. And this is why I say anxiety can be your greatest teacher. It pushes you to confront what you care about. It forces you to notice where your courage is waiting to be born. If you felt nothing, if you were numb, there'd be no growth. Anxiety is proof that you are alive, that you are on the verge of something meaningful. So here's what you do. When the rush comes, after you name it, after you move to break the loop, you reframe it. This is energy, this is life moving through me, and then you channel it into the conversation you've been avoiding, into the project you've been delaying, into the dream you've been too afraid to chase. You stop seeing anxiety as the wall in front of you, and you start seeing it as the doorway to your next chapter. That doorway may feel intimidating, but the fact that you're anxious means it matters. It means you're about to step into something bigger than what you've known. Let me put it simply. Anxiety is not the end of your strength. It's the beginning of it. It's the raw material from which courage is built. And every single time you choose to reframe it, you're teaching your brain a new story. That fear is not the enemy, but the signal that you're exactly where you're meant to be. Because anxiety isn't just a storm to survive. It's the wind you can learn to ride. Up until now, we've been talking about movement, naming anxiety, breaking the loop, channeling its energy into growth. But there's another side to strength, one that's quieter, softer, and maybe even harder for many of us to embrace. It's the power of stillness. See, most people think of inner strength as this fiery, unstoppable force, the push, the drive, the grit. And yes, strength can look like that. But real strength also looks like silence. It looks like sitting with yourself without running away. Anxiety thrives in the absence of presence. It feeds on the future, on the what-ifs, on the endless spinning of possibilities. It pulls you out of the moment and convinces you that the worst is already on its way. But when you drop into presence, when you anchor yourself here, now the spiral loses power. Because the truth is, anxiety cannot live in the present moment. It only exists in the imagined future. So how do you access this silence, especially when your mind feels like it's racing 100 miles an hour? You ground yourself in something simple, something real, something that brings you back into your body. That might be your breath. Just noticing the inhale, the exhale. It might be the sensation of your feet pressing into the floor. It might be the sounds in the room around you, reminding you that you are here, not there. These are not tricks, they are lifelines. Because when you come back into your body, you remind your brain that you are not in danger. You are in the present. And every time you do this, you weaken the grip anxiety has on you. But here's the part most people miss. Silence is not empty, it's full. When you enter presence, when you quiet the noise, what you discover isn't nothingness. It's wisdom, it's intuition, it's strength that's been there all along, waiting for you to listen. Think about it like this. If your life is a symphony, silence is not the absence of music, it's the pause that gives the music meaning. Without the pause, the song would just be noise. Without presence, life becomes a blur of racing thoughts and restless striving. But with silence, you hear the deeper rhythm of your own being. You connect to something larger than yourself, the ground beneath you, the breath inside you, the thread of life holding you together. And here's the irony. The same mind that spirals into anxiety also carries the ability to rest in stillness. It's not about shutting the mind off, it's about redirecting it. Instead of rehearsing catastrophe, you teach it to notice reality. Instead of drowning in what could be, you anchor in what is. It doesn't mean the thoughts stop. It means the thoughts no longer own you. And that is strength, because strength is not the absence of fear or worry. It's the ability to stay rooted even as the storm swirls around you. Over time, this practice builds something profound. The moments of silence, of presence begin to stretch. You notice you recover from spirals faster. You notice you can hear yourself more clearly. You notice that instead of being pulled under by anxiety, you rise above it with a calm that surprises even you. And this calm is not fragile. It's not passive. It's resilient. Because it's born from the understanding that you don't need to control everything. You only need to anchor yourself to this moment, this breath, this ground. So yes, move when the energy needs to be shifted. Harness it when it can fuel your courage. But also remember, the truest strength is often found in the quiet, in the pause between thoughts, in the space where anxiety dissolves and presence awakens. And when you find that place, when you taste even a moment of that stillness, you realize something profound. Peace is not out there, waiting for life to calm down. Peace is right here, within you, waiting for you to return. Because in the silence beyond the storm, you don't just find calm, you find yourself. So here we are. We've named the spiral. We've broken it. We've reframed the energy. We've learned to sit in silence and find presence. And now comes the part that matters most, integration. Because this isn't about a one-time hack. This is about a blueprint for how you live. Anxiety will still come. That's not a sign you failed. It's a sign you're human. The question isn't, how do I get rid of it forever? The real question is, how do I walk with it in a way that builds me instead of breaks me? That's what this blueprint gives you. It starts with awareness. Every time you feel that rush in your chest, every time your thoughts start to race, you now recognize it for what it is. Not a threat, but a signal. A doorway, not a dead end. And when you name it, you interrupt the spiral. That's step one of your blueprint. Then you move. You take control of the body before the mind spirals out of reach. You reclaim your power in those first fragile moments. That's step two. Next, you harness. You take that energy, what once felt like panic, and you redirect it towards something that matters. You turn the chaos into courage. That's step three. And then, you balance it with presence. You practice stillness. You root yourself in the moment, because only here, in the now, does life actually happen. That's step four. And when you keep practicing this, not perfectly but consistently, you start to notice a change. The same patterns that once overwhelmed you begin to lose their grip. The same storms that used to drown you become the very winds that carry you forward. That's the integration. This is where inner strength is built, not in the absence of fear, but in the presence of it, when you choose to walk differently. Anxiety doesn't vanish, but it transforms. It becomes your teacher, your fuel, your reminder to come back to yourself again and again. And over time, something profound happens. You stop asking, "Oh, why me?" and start asking, "What now?" You stop wishing for an easier path and start realizing you've been given stronger legs to walk the one you're on. You stop fearing anxiety as the thing that will undo you, and you start embracing it as the catalyst that is shaping you. That's what this blueprint is really about. It's not just about calming anxiety, it's about rewriting the relationship you have with your own mind. It's about remembering that you are not broken, you are not weak, you are not behind. You are in the process of becoming, and every rush of anxiety is part of that process. You see, life isn't about eliminating struggle. It's about discovering who you are within it. Strength isn't the absence of storms. It's learning to dance in the rain. And if you can remember this blueprint, if you can practice it, naming, moving, harnessing, grounding, then slowly, quietly, steadily, your entire relationship with anxiety will shift. It will no longer own you. Instead, you will own the story. And maybe that's the greatest brain hack of all, not tricking your mind, but teaching it the truth that you are far stronger, far wiser, far more resilient than your fear will ever let you believe. So the next time the storm rises, don't ask, when will it end? Instead, remind yourself, it's not here to destroy me, it's here to awaken me, it's here to build me. Because anxiety doesn't mark the limits of your strength, it marks the beginning of it.